I just am intoxicated by being creative when it comes to food and all elements of food. So yeah, I just love the fact that I've created an opportunity for myself to just constantly be creative.
Hi, everybody. This is Dani Valent, and you're listening to Dirty Linen. Thank you so much for being with me. Always keen for another food chat. I love all kinds of restaurants, big, small, fancy, casual, city, country. But if there's a type that I watch most closely and appreciate most intensely, it's small, independent family places where the creativity has to be as much about business structure as food on a plate. Greasy Zoe's is one of those businesses. Run by couple Zoe Birch and Lachlan Gardner, the 8-seat restaurant is in a leafy suburb an hour from Melbourne. It's a special place. As the business clocks up 9 years of operation, it's a great time to check in with Zoe to see what is consistent and what needs to change. Zoe, welcome to Dirty Linen.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Great to have you on the show. Just listening to your voice makes me think about some great experiences that I've had in your tiny little restaurant. Certainly the food on the plate. I'm thinking of the beautiful laminated pastry scroll, but I think it's the feeling of being there that really sticks with me. Just the intimacy of it, the sense that it's so personal. You're right there cooking. Lachlan's right there turning the record over and really thinking hard about what you should drink next. It's such a precious experience. Like I said, it's the kind of really connected experience that I so value and that I really hope as a society we can help sustain. Tell us about the restaurant from your perspective. If people don't know what it is, you meet another school mum and she says, "What do you do, Zoe?" Like, how do you explain Greasy Zoe's?
Well, that is something that happens all the time, actually. But no, like exactly what you're saying. That's what I love about the restaurant most is the intimacy and the connection that I get as well to the customer. So like you said, we're very small. The room is probably the size of most people's living rooms at home, the actual restaurant. It's completely open. So the kitchen's right there, the bar's right there. And it's just run by 2 people, myself and Lachlan, my partner. And 8 covers a night, only 32 people a week. So everybody that's coming through the door, it's definitely quality over quantity. Everyone that comes in is important. You're basically coming to my house for dinner and we're going to have a chat and we're going to have a good time and you're going to leave your worries at the door. And I love connecting with people. You know, being in a kitchen, it can feel a bit disconnected in, a lot of restaurant scenes. But it's not like that at Greasy Zoe's. People come in, I welcome them, have a conversation. We'll talk throughout the dining experience. Sometimes people get up and they come in the kitchen and they're asking me questions and it's beautiful. And everyone, I chat to everyone as they leave and get to know people and it's very real, I would say. Yeah.
The connections, of course, extend beyond the dining room to the suppliers that you have such strong relationships as well. Can you tell me a little bit about how Greasy Zoe's sits in the region?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was the main premise for us when opening the restaurant because, Lachlan and I had worked in hospitality for a long time before we decided to take the plunge. And that was a real issue for me was, being in the kitchen, closed doors, disconnected from the customer, but also feeling very disconnected from where on earth this produce that we're using is coming from. So one of the top things on the list when we opened the restaurant was we want to know where the food is coming from. We want to have a relationship with these guys. We want to be friends with these people because they're supporting us and we're supporting them. So we are in Hurstbridge, which is part of the Nillumbik, which is just before the Yarra Valley. So we're almost like a bit of a gateway to the Yarra Valley. And it's lush, green, we're part of the Green Wedge, technically still part of Melbourne Metro, which is interesting. But we've got a lot of vegetable suppliers in our area, lots of organic husband and wife teams, biodynamic. So one of the things that we do at GZ's is we don't have our own farm. We're just not in the position to grow our own food just because of the location. We are very much bush. But I'm actually fine with that because I would actually prefer to be supporting someone that is really good at it, that needs my support. So we have maybe 3 or 4 hyper-local husband and wife teams that we go to their farms every week and we pull produce out of the ground and we have a walk around and we have a conversation, we'll have a cup of tea, and that produces what's going on the menu that week. So I'm the only person in the kitchen, so I get bored pretty quickly. So the menu is just constantly evolving. And obviously these guys are so small, so I might only have corn for a week, or maybe the tomatoes, got frostbitten and I'm only getting tomatoes for a couple of weeks, and the cucumbers got eaten by something, so I'm not getting them that week. So it's just constantly evolving, constantly changing, which I enjoy. And I think the customers can feel that. Sometimes you go to a restaurant and you can feel that whatever it is on the menu is a bit tired. And I'd like to think that when people come in, nothing's tired. It's all very exciting. It's all very new. And yeah.
Do some of those relationships work both ways? Like you could say, oh, I'd really love to cook with this, or what about this for winter? Is that the kind of conversations you have?
Absolutely. And, we'll have conversations where I'll say to, I don't know, Patrick, one of the farmers in just before Greensboro that we get some stuff from, and I'll say, Patrick, I really want I want some fluff for my plates. I want some beautiful leaves. I want a bit of a gratin, or I want something with a succulent sort of texture. And he'll just be like, Zoe, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. I just got these seeds. We're trialing them now. Last time we did it, it didn't work out, but we think we figured it out. Absolutely. We have these, hour-long conversations where we're 2 food nerds just swapping stories, and also great conversations where I'm like, I really want you to grow me broad beans this year. And they'll be like, I can't. It takes up too much space. The paddock's not looking great at the moment. I can't justify it sitting there for 4 months and I'm only going to be able to charge you $15 a kilo. So there's those real conversations too. And I love that and I respect that. And that's part of that relationship, is me saying, can you do this? And sometimes them being like, actually, I can't justify it. I can't afford it. And I think that's really important as well.
Yeah, what an incredible realization, and another layer of connection, not only the things that you can have, but also the things that you can't. And then not deciding to just go to the shops and get broad beans because you want them, but just staying true to the principles of the business. So Zoe, tell us about a dish that you're super excited about at the moment.
Oh my goodness, a dish that I'm super excited about at the moment. Oh, that is so tricky. What would I be? It's just like, oh, how many dishes are we doing, Well, look, so one thing about where we are situated is I do struggle with protein, because we're not near the ocean, and a lot of meat and stuff like that is sort of more coming from Gippsland, sort of in our area. But one thing that I do get that I love, and I will support this lady forever, is I get these chickens from Don Valley, which is basically just above Healesville. So it's probably about 35 minutes from Hurstbridge. And her name is Heidi, and she operates on this tiny sort of space. So she's only producing like the tiniest amounts of chickens, basically, and they're slow growing birds. So the effort required, and she's a mother of 5. It's a husband and wife team again. The amount of times that foxes have gotten in and killed these chickens, and yada yada yada. It's this whole story. But I get chickens from her, and I get them really regularly. I get them every 3 weeks, so that allows me enough time to dry age the chickens for 2 weeks before I serve them. So usually by the time I'm serving them, the new ones are coming in. It's this lovely rotation. And so I've always got that on the menu. So one thing that I have been doing recently, because even though we're sort of in autumn coming out of summer, I've had a lot of onions. So I've been doing this really delicious dish where I get the chicken breast, which is dry aged. I smother it in pepperberry, so the native sort of mountain pepper, and it gets barbecued. So everything in the restaurant goes through the wood fire grill. Everything goes on there to get that smokiness and just overall sort of Australiana sort of umami sort of thing. That gets done on the grill, and I've been serving it with like an onion gravy and like 4 or 5 different types of onions, which get roasted and then done over the grill, and they go through the sauce, and then that goes on top with just like crispy saltbush on top. And it sounds like to look at it, you would think, oh, it's quite sophisticated but simple. But there's so much that's gone into just getting that chicken on the plate. There's so much that's gone into all the different onions that these people have grown, and then the process of doing this sauce, which takes 24 hours to make. And so I do a lot of stuff like that at GZ's, where it appears to be incredibly simple, but the process behind the scenes that's gone into it from the paddock to the plate, I really like stuff like that, and explaining that at the table.
Wow, I love it. I mean, onions are such a commodity crop so often. People don't think about them really as a crop with an origin necessarily, and to have different varieties of onion. I just feel like the conversations and like the trains of thought that you must open up for your customers must be so satisfying.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really want them to know, like I want someone to come in and I serve them a cauliflower, and I want them to understand that Warren grew this cauliflower, and it took Warren, 5 months to grow this cauliflower. So this is like this, even though it just looks like cauliflower, it's so important. So much energy has gone into this, from him to me to just it being grown in general. Like, I think it's important that people come into GZ's, they know our story, but I want them to know the story of all these people that are working really hard for me to be able to do what I do. And I think that everyone that leaves appreciates that, and leaves with a bit of knowledge as well, that, cauliflower is like $2 in the supermarket, but actually the amount of time and effort that's gone in to grow it, it's important that people understand, I think.
Yeah, well, as a perennially failing gardener, I definitely do appreciate a cauliflower. My goodness, I would not even attempt such a slow grower. So I really get it. So Zoe, it just sounds like such a delight to sit down and eat the chicken with that beautiful onion gravy and to learn everything that goes into it. From a business point of view, like it's such a unusual structure. Just 2 people, such a small room, such a particular style of doing things. Tell us how you came to decide to do it like that, and how it stacks up.
Yeah, look, honestly, Lachlan and I had been working in hospitality for ages. We just couldn't find our place in the restaurant scene, I suppose. Like, I'd worked overseas and in many restaurants, as he had, and I think it just got to the point for us where we were just like, we know what we want to do, but we just can't find somewhere to do it. And we were feeling really tired and burnt out and frustrated, which I think a lot of people in hospitality will go through that. And we just sort of made this decision, which was, we're going to leave hospitality, or we're going to give it a go and see if we can do it, because we think that we've got the knowledge and we think we've got the enthusiasm and the love. Why don't we just see? And we didn't have kids at the time, so it was like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and we'll just go do something else. It's not that big of a deal. So we very luckily found this teeny tiny little shop in Hurstbridge, and so small. I think when people walked in and we told them that we were putting a restaurant in there, everyone was immediately concerned. It's like, this is like a bathroom. Like, how could anyone put a restaurant in? But we were confident. We had a concept. We had an idea. And basically the premise of the restaurant was to do all the things that we wanted to do that we hadn't been able to do in other restaurants, and for it to be a lifestyle business. So, when you're a chef or you work out the front, you're working the weekends, you're working the nights, you're working when everybody's enjoying themselves. Your job is to be hospitable and to make people enjoy themselves. Well, I want to enjoy myself too. And, maybe I want to start a family, and maybe I want to do this and that. And maybe I want to have, a summer break. Maybe I want to go to the beach in December. So we just created this business that was going to be, it was going to make us happy. We weren't going to be working all the time. We can choose our hours. And so we just developed this, restaurant with just the 2 of us, so not paying for other staff. It's just us. So if we do decide to have a weekend off, it's not going to affect anybody. And it's worked. I think a lot of people really, like I said, people were really worried when we told them the concept, because it wasn't really happening when we first did it. But but it's worked so well. And Lachlan and I, get along so well. We're best mates. There's a mutual respect there. And yeah, just the whole concept itself, people love being able to walk into the restaurant and have a conversation with the owners, but also the staff. I think people appreciate the story and the hard work. Like, we're obviously working really hard. This is us on a plate, or essentially. And I think people really like that element as well. Yeah.
So you mentioned when you opened, you didn't have kids. Now you do. What are some of the logistics that Delight has brought into your lives?
So I think 8 months into opening, I got pregnant with my first child, and it was a bit like, oh my God, what do we do? But then it was very much like, oh, well, we've created this business for this to happen. So logistics are, when your kids get sick and they make you sick, you have to close, and that's happened a few times. So all the sicknesses, all the illnesses, yeah, like we've had to cancel the restaurant. Ring up people and say, I'm really, really sorry, but we're sick. We need to cancel, stuff like that. But then, and then also, as our kids are 8 and 5 now. So as they get bigger, for anyone that's listening that has children, they will understand that things get more complicated and change, and luckily the business allows us to, be able to, take this day off for this thing at school or whatever. But our kids they go to a school that's very involved. So it's a cooperative school. So I think most people would think to themselves, oh, because both of our kids are at school now, I think most people would say, oh, both your kids are at school, it must be so much easier. You've got all this spare time. And it's like, well, actually we don't, because our kids go to this really, it's a hippie school, and we actually put a lot of time into that school, so that in itself creates another layer on life. And also we work nights. So Lachlan and I, being the parents of both of our kids, we're there of the evening. So we do rely on a lot of family and a lot of friends, literally a village, to help us out with that also. So there's all sorts of stuff going on. Like, the business itself works really well for us, but there's always problems, there's always things. It's not like it's a smooth sailing thing, but life is, complicated, and, it's not always perfect.
Right. And I mean, so when you've both been in the restaurant and it's nights, have you had people come over to look after the kids, or are they doing a lot of sleepovers? Like, how has that worked?
Yeah, well, a bit of both. So usually Lachlan's family does a lot of looking after the kids for us. So Lachlan's dad actually lives on our property, which is very handy. And so he looks after the kids often. But then, yeah, like Lachlan's mum helps out, his sister, our friends. Sometimes, yeah, that's right. Maybe Lachlan's dad wants to go away for the weekend. So they're sleeping over at this person and that person's house, which is actually beautiful for them, because they have a very real understanding of community, and they're very sort of confident little people because they spend so much time around adults and, obviously all that sort of stuff. But yeah, that's usually how it works. It's actually funny. People often come into the restaurant and they'll be like, oh, where are your kids? It's like they're at home. They're not like selling keys.
So Zoe, I know that there's a change to the business coming in the near future. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so as we're discussing, my girls go to, like a alternative school, a cooperative, and both my youngest daughter started school this year, which is very exciting for her. But as a result of both the kids being at school, they actually just need a bit more support. And this is a conversation Lachlan and I have been having for years, really, which is the realization that one day maybe one of us might have to step away and offer some more support to our kids. So, yeah, this is our 9th year at Greasy Zoe's, and next year will be our 10th, fingers crossed. But in 2026, we're going to be changing it up a bit, and Lachlan's actually going to step away from doing service at the restaurant, just to support our kids, because they need a bit more support. And he will be still working behind the scenes and doing the wine list and, very much involved, but he just won't be there for service. So I'll be doing it with someone else. after 9 years.
Whoa. Hang on a minute. You're going to have a staff member?
No. Yes, I will. But also, the person that's going to come on board, I would say, is family. But yeah, no, we will be employing an actual proper staff member for the first time. And it's so weird, but also really exciting. I'm actually very excited about it. So yeah, it's massive change.
It's a massive change. I mean, you'd think, one person leaving a business, another person coming in, and normally that's just, things happen, things change. But when there's only two people in the business, that is a really huge shift. So you know who this person's going to be?
Yeah, so this change is going to sort of start happening in the next coming weeks, and the person that's going to be helping us, his name is James Lance. He owned a winery right next to, really close to the restaurant, called Punch Wine. He's actually very renowned winemaker, essentially, and he sold his winery and his business last year, and he's kind of been, we've known him for a really long time. It was one of the first wines we put on the wine list, essentially, is his. And we've had this incredible relationship with him for 9 years. And he's going to come in and he's going to be the new Lachlan, essentially. And it's kind of perfect because he's very similar to Lachlan in that he's a local. He knows all the people in the area, and he shares a very intense love of all things food and booze, and just very similar temperament to Lachlan. I think that when people come in the door, I think a lot of people think this is genuine hospitality. I can genuinely have a conversation with Lachlan, and James is very similar. And he also shares a love of music. So we've got the turntable in the restaurant, which is I think it's a really big part of our business, that we can curate the music depending on the people in the room. And James also shares a very, very major love of music. So that's going to work really well also. So yeah, it's going to be very different, but the person that's going to be, my best mate in the restaurant now happens to be one of my close friends. So it's hopefully people can still see the connection there between the two of us, and that makes people a bit more comfortable with it. Because I know that, we have a lot of regulars, a lot of people that come to the restaurant, more than one time. It will be different for everyone, but I'd like to think that James is so similar to Lachlan, just shares that love of hospitality, that people will feel somewhat at ease, and it won't be too big of a change, too much of a shock, I guess.
Oh, it sounds very much in the GZ's mould. I can't imagine you making such a big change and it being jarring. I guess, it sounds like things are happening in a way that they're supposed to happen. But what about, the flexibility that you've had, if you want to close for a friend's wedding or a kid's birthday, how's it going to work with the new arrangement?
I think it's still going to happen, in all honesty. James is, he's essentially retired. His kids have grown up. Like me, he doesn't want to work all the time. So it's actually just going to work out probably the same. We're going to still have that conversation where it's like James is like, I can't do this Saturday. And Lachlan will probably make a couple of guest appearances, do a Saturday here or a Friday there, which is super convenient. And I think Locke's going to really love that, because being away from the restaurant, it was not an easy decision. And he's feeling all the feelings. He's got all the big feelings, all the emotions, like to be part of something for 9 years, to have literally watched me, have children, everything's happened at this restaurant for us. It's been a big part of our relationship, really. He's excited about it, but he's also very emotional. So he's going to come in every now and then and do some, guest appearances. It's going to roll the same. Like, we'll still have breaks here and there for school holidays and, breaks over the summer period. And it's not really going to change. It will be the same.
So many people in hospitality feel that it's mostly out of their control. They're buffeted by price changes, by customer spending habits, by, laws that change around whatever it is, superannuation or insurance or wages. And I think your business feels like it's been constructed outside of a lot of those paradigms. Do you feel like you're going to be more subject to some of those pressures with the new structure?
Well, not really, because Lachlan and I have always sort of done that for ourselves anyway. Like it's all very legitimate how we go about the business. So I think it's going to literally just be the same. Like, just because Lachlan and I work in the business doesn't mean that we don't pay ourselves a wage or we don't give ourselves superannuation or any of that stuff. Like, it's literally, it's been legitimate from the get-go, which was part of the plan. It's like, well, we're going to pay ourselves and we're going to have superannuation and we're going to have the time off and we'll have holiday pay and staff meals and all that sort of stuff. So it's literally just going to be Lachlan slightly moving aside and James coming in and hanging out with me. Like, it's all going to be very similar. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So, what about all those things? Like, what about costs and spending habits? How have you been impacted by those?
Oh, look, yeah, the cost of everything has gone through the roof. There's no doubt about that. We're not overly affected. We can see the difference and see the change. Definitely see that people come in and maybe they're not getting the second glass of wine and maybe actually I'm not going to do a non-alcoholic pairing because I can't justify spending whatever. But I think just with how we operate the business, we've got a pretty good buffer. And we can sort of change things in a certain way that we're not putting a huge extra cost on the people that come through the door, because we want people to still come and enjoy themselves. And the main point of the restaurant is that anyone can come and enjoy it. So we don't want to cost people out. So I can sort of tweak, just because we are so small, I can tweak things here and there. So, people aren't feeling that cost. But yeah, no, it's definitely there. Absolutely. Get the cancellations and, we get these, I'll get these phone calls, I have these beautiful phone conversations with, our farmers where they're like, I'm so sorry, but I'm going to have to put this up by blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, of course you do. Definitely put it up and definitely charge me more because I want you to keep doing what you're doing. So yeah, it's a conversation that is ubiquitous at the moment.
I suppose it's very different when you do have a conversation from someone that telling you that they're under these particular pressures and it's going to mean they need to raise a price. It's a very different thing to getting an email from an anonymous supplier with, I don't know, whether it's a fuel surcharge or just a price increase. The dynamic must be so different.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And, the thing about small businesses is they will hold off. As like a small farmer or like whatever, they will hold off as long as possible because you've got a relationship. They've got a relationship with, maybe they're going to the market and they're selling produce at the market as well. They've got a relationship with the people that they're selling it to, and they will tend to hold off longer than what they should. And you're totally right. So I'm still getting emails from, people that I have to get, dairy from or whatever. And yeah, that's right. It's like, oh, I'm really sorry, but it's a $300 minimum now, or we have to put 2%, surcharge because of the, the fuel or whatever. So I'm still getting that. There is a little bit of that for me. And they're still small suppliers and I'm getting those things from. So I don't question it at all. I'm not frustrated or angry about it. It's like, absolutely, we all need to get through this together and we all need to do what we need to do in order to survive.
Zoe, when you look back at the journey and you started this business with such intention, you've, it's led you and you've led it along the 9-year journey. How do you reflect on those decisions that you made to start Greasy Zoe's?
Honestly, it's so funny because I feel like as you get older, maybe you get less confident or you didn't have as much to lose then maybe as you do now because you've got a lot more responsibility as you get older. But I think that's, for me personally, it's a warm feeling of pride that we made that decision, that we just went, stuff it. We're going to put it all on the line and we're going to do this crazy concept because everyone thought that it was ridiculous. You know, our friends and family were like, we're very worried. It's not enough people. Just doing it with the two of you, like, what if this happens? Doing it in Hurstbridge, calling it Greasy Zoe's, like, there was so much concern. But we were just like, nah, like, we're just going to go for it. And I'm so proud that we did it, but that we even came up with the idea. Like, you know, it was the idea came from literally the space, the experiences that we had in the past, the experiences that we were going through together. It's crazy. I think about it all the time, actually. People come into the restaurant and they're like, what an amazing idea. You know, how'd you come up with it? And it's like, I don't know. Like, I have no idea. Too confident, maybe. I'm not sure. But yeah, no, I'm really proud that we've achieved what we have. Like, we've done really well.
I love it. And for anyone who's finding this inspiring, which I reckon is 100% of people listening, I would also recommend that you listen to my chat with Helena Janis from Rising Sun Workshop in Sydney, which she's just turned 10. And we spoke about it was 4 people, their crazy idea to create a motorcycle workshop and a ramen cafe in Newtown, and the people telling them not to. And her analogy, which I love, was just like, you kick the ball, then you run after it. Like, you just see where it takes you. Just go for it. You know, you learn in the doing. And I think it's quite a similar impetus. Very different businesses, different structures, different journeys, but a lot of similarities as well. Also in community and the way that they created a community and then lent on it as they went. And, you know, the community supported. It's just like a circle of trust and support, which you create for yourself, but also nurture yourself. So I think, you know, when people talk to me about hard times and, you know, what they can do, it's the answer, I think, is always in community and in working out, you know, where you can give support and find support in turn. Zoe, what do you love about what you do?
I honestly, this is going to sound super tacky, but if you don't love hospitality, you shouldn't be doing it. And I wake up every morning with new ideas and feeling excited to go to work. You know, I never wake up and go, oh, I've got to go to work today. Like, I'm excited. I do stuff at home. I cook at home. I come up with, you know, I just am intoxicated by being creative when it comes to food and all elements of food. So yeah, I just love the fact that I've created an opportunity for myself to just constantly be creative. Yeah, it's fun, so fun. Like a little kid in a candy store, that's me in the restaurant most days.
I love it. If someone's listening to this and they do work in hospitality and they are feeling a bit jaded, you know, maybe they still think they should love it or they could love it, but they're not loving it right now. Do you have any advice for them?
I think you just need a break. You know, it's really common, the burnout in hospitality, and for so many reasons, high pressure environment, the weekends, the long hours, all that sort of stuff. I would suggest just having a break or maybe doing something slightly different, you know, maybe, you know, contacting a different restaurant and saying, can I come and hang out for a week? Or just remove yourself from the situation that's making you unhappy, get some perspective, and then move forward.
Great. Very simple. Love it. Almost as much as I reckon I would love that chicken with onion gravy. I'm going to be thinking about that for a while. I might need to get on the train to Hurstbridge. Zoe, thank you so much for what you do, for sharing with us today so openly, and for telling us about the new direction. Well, not even a new direction, just like a continuation of the direction at Greasy Zoe's with a slightly different format. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
This is Dirty Linen. I'm Dani Valent. We bring you untold stories from the food world. Real, raw, unafraid, hopeful. We're driven by a belief that food provides endless opportunities for learning, connecting, and creating the world we want to live in. Delicious, open-hearted, meaningful. If you know a story that needs telling, get in touch. write to dirtylinen@deepintheweeds.com.au. Thank you for listening.
This is a Deep in the Weeds production.